turned on. All right, looks like we got pretty good service tonight. Tim Ard here along the Forest Apps Road. And I see we got a couple on already. John Hodson. Must be a John night, yeah. No sound on your end. That's probably because I didn't turn it on. Do we have it now? Hopefully that picks up something. Any sound yet? Any audio? Any audio? Okay, very good. I have one mic turned on there. Hope y'all are all doing good. We had a interesting week over on the South Carolina border in Augusta, actually Augusta, Georgia. Went over to work with the city of Augusta and Richmond County, and got back in last night. It was supposed to be 4 days, and we ended up with 2 days. We had a brand new group of folks. Had a couple guys that were part of the tree crew over there, but they had two groups of folks that were new employees and just general labor. They wanted to get them trained on chainsaws, so they had a 2-day class to do felling and then also limbing and bucking storm stuff. And got over there, and they didn't have everything set up right. So I did the 2 days, and then I said, we'll reschedule if necessary on the others. But without some of the people showing up with, sandals on and all kinds of different things, I don't know what all happened, but it was quite frustrating. There was 4 or 5 of them that were really sharp, and then another 5 or 6 that just didn't care much about it. So I put together a little video, be coming out tomorrow, the next day, talking a little bit about, gosh, if you go and you do some type of hands-on training class, and it's going to be in the woods, shorts and flip-flops don't work too well. So it was kind of humorous when people were in a little bit irritated shape with all the bugs, and we were in the woods with pine straw and all kinds of stuff. So I imagine it'll add up to them with some bug bites for sure. And plus it was like 97 degrees. Next week is starting to cool down here, but it was really hot out in Augusta this week. Still hot here in Rome, Georgia. But anyway, we got back last night. I've been working on some videos, cleaning up some things around the office, and I had most of the chores around here done, so I was able to do a little video work today. So how have y'all been? What's going on out there? So we got back in last night, I guess probably around 8 o'clock, something like that, and got everything kind of unloaded, and so I started working on the video for week 39, and then did a little bit of a commentary on the hands-on training. So that'll be coming out. I've been posting a good bit of stuff. Hopefully it's been coming through. Hope y'all have enjoyed that. There's been some remakes and shorts and things like that from past videos, and then put together a couple new things. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. We got possibly frost in the forecast for tomorrow morning, Central Michigan. Well, I guess that's a good thing this time of year, John. But if you'll go ahead and make sure that it's out of the way. We're South Carolina next week, and then we are headed to Chicago. So we'll be up around Chicago for about 2 weeks. So I'd rather it be about 68 or 71, 72, maybe 59 or so in the mornings. That would be great if y'all could arrange that. But anything less than 97 right now will be good. John M., speaking of bug bites, I wear Clogger Zeros and get chigger bites through the vents. All of them that have the vents do that. And one thing I like, I've been using Fanner pants for several years now, and they have the ankle gaiters that are built into the pants. And so I tighten those around my boots. I don't get nearly as many, but I did just a few weeks ago, I think it was in Kentucky, that I had the back legs vent. The Fanners, the first ones had a pretty wide mesh vent material, and the new ones are really tight. It's kind of like it's almost like a silk looking cloth type of stuff. It's not that silk, but it's a little bit tighter weave on the fabric. But I had those a couple years ago, and the bugs would go right through them. Boy, I tell you, they found it pretty good. But those ankle gaiters work pretty good. And if you never tried that, they've got the ones that a lot of the string trimmer guys use too, that you can pull up over and then put the top over the boots. And that'll keep some of the bugs out, ticks anyway, chiggers. And I've got about 6 bites right now. They've been driving me crazy. One up here is still itching. And they were from the end of last week. Over in Middle Georgia with the DOT. I was dead on the stick trick on a log for distance from wires. A guy I worked with commented and said, Tim Hart would be proud. Thank you, John. Thanks for saying that. And did you see the video I put together last week on that? I put together a short on the use of the stick. Every class, it doesn't make a difference. And a lot of times it's guys with a lot of experience have never seen that. And, we've been talking about it for 30 years, I guess. Soren and I, we had a little card in Europe. They had one that a guy had developed. It was for measuring and scaling trees. And we produced one, just an inexpensive thing to use in the training. We call it Pro Sight. And some of the game of logging guys, I think, are still producing those and selling them. And then I was out in Olympia, Washington, and we were doing a thing there with a group of arborists. And one of the guys, I showed him the use of the stick, and I had a Pro Sight with me also. And I showed him that, and he said, my dad used to do something. He said every time he'd get out, they had a family-owned tree service. Every time he'd get out of the truck, he had 2 sticks on his dashboard. And he said his dad would get out and take those sticks with him just about every time he was doing a quote. And he'd walk around the yard, and he'd cross it like a T on his forehead, and he'd walk around and look. And he said, I bet you he was checking the height on it. He never explained that to me. And I said, explain that to me again. And he said, he'd take 2 sticks and cross them like a capital T and put it on his forehead. And so I went back and drew it up in the computer with my specs I had on the Pro Sight, and I made the cross sight. And so I've sold those for years, and tree stuff have them, Cheryl Tree. I think I was noticing the other day, though, that tree stuff didn't have them in the catalog anymore. I don't know if they've still got any in stock or not, but I do have some here if y'all want them, but I don't sell a whole lot of them because sticks are cheaper. And I think tree stuff kind of used them as a promotional. But anyhow, they work good. But a stick works great too. And just a little bit of practice, you can be very accurate with it. Guys with game of logging competitions, it never ceased to amaze me. They would be 2 inches and 3 inches off consistently with the poles that we had planted, for the felling competitions. So let's see, it took me a long time to figure out why I was only getting chigger bites on the backs of my thighs. Yeah, they come through those back vents pretty good. And so, and the other thing is this time of year, when it gets July, August, sometimes into September down in the south, But July and August, definitely, I start changing pants every day. Because if you don't, you'll find, I don't know how they stay in there. You don't see them, you shake them out and everything, but they're in the pants. So you have to kind of shake them out good. But I always, I try not to wear them more than one day and then let them air out, and a lot of times the bugs will leave. Well, it looks like we're getting a little bit static on the view there, but I'll put the hard copy up after we finish this. So hopefully everything is seeable right now, and I'll put the hard copy up after we get finished here. But I'm gonna try, and if somebody wants to try it, and this is a cell number through Google that I'm setting up, and I hope to next week. I've tried it out. Laura and I have back and forth on it, and I had one of my other friends call. It seems to work pretty good, and that's a chat line, and the number is 706-901-7297. So that's 706-901-SAW. And so I want to see if we can get that going and have some questions coming in, and either I can answer them and go through my podcaster, or either take the audible questions and stuff and be able to answer on the podcast. But I think probably next week I'll have everything set up with a podcaster on the road, and we will see if we can't have some questions come in live. So, but we hadn't had a whole lot of questions here lately. I did have one question that I think. Where am I tonight? I am in Rome, Georgia. So I'm back home right now. We head out Monday to South Carolina. We'll be in Clemson, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, and I think Easton outside of Sumter, South Carolina next week in South Carolina. And then we get back home Friday, and then Saturday we head out to Chicago. We'll be in the Chicago area for 2 weeks, and then we go straight from Chicago, I think, to Massachusetts. We'll be working with Maya up in Massachusetts, and I think there's 3 or 4 different locations there. I know we'll be out on Cape Cod, finishing up one workshop we started there. It got postponed because of weather, and then the other ones, I think Ashton area and a couple others. I'd have to look at it again, but we'll be in Massachusetts that week, and then I think we're back home for a couple days after that. But so we got a lot of travel going on. You'll be in Seneca, South Carolina next week. We'll be in at Clemson there at the LTAP office doing a session on Tuesday. So and that's there at the LTAP office on Hugo Drive in Clemson. Or it might even be listed as Seneca. So anyway, it's right there at the lake at the backside of the university property. Yeah, a few miles over the next couple weeks. But we got a nice motor home. We travel in that, and so it makes it pretty easy to be able to stay out and about. It's about as good as being home, really. Have all the luxuries. I was going to say I had a question that came in from. Let me look at it here again. I sent an answer back to him, and That was from Aaron, and he had asked about the baby C that Buck and Billy Ray has been talking about, and he wanted some clarification on it. And I don't know if any of y'all seen that, but that baby C that he's talking about, it can cut like crazy. It's a smaller surface. It does tend to not accept a lot of abrasives, kind of like you have with a square file chain, but it really sets the tooth up to take a chip out really nice. And what he was doing with the chip, what did he call that? But he even said, I was watching a video he did the other day, and he said it didn't work out too good. A chip dump, he was calling it, taking a little bit larger file and working back around. That does kind of thin out that side plate. You can get a lot of resistance there in that, because it'll go into the fibers too deep. But some of that stuff we played with several years ago, very similar to the baby C. I didn't use a 1/8 file, which he uses, but I used 5/32 on it, and with the 404 pitch chain. And then also we did, I don't know if you have ever seen it, but I don't think they're available anymore. I may have a box down in the shop somewhere. Oberg used to make them, and Soren was pretty tight with Oberg, and they had a chisel bit file that had a rounded edge to it. And that chisel bit file is two flat sides like you have with the Sandvik or the Ferd flat chisel bit file, but it had a rounded edge to it. And when you filed it up to the corner, it put kind of a concave side plate, about 1/8 of an inch. It was about 1/8 of an inch thick, and it really cut. It's a little bit harder to file though, because you didn't have quite as defined top corner, going into the corner, but it cut like crazy. And that's basically the same thing that Billy Ray is doing with that baby C. And so if you're in clean wood, especially softer fibers, it'll cut like crazy. And I've used that with the 5/32, and then 3/16 on 404 pitch also. I was playing with that on the harvester bars on the Bell machines, which used a 404 chain, and we were going to skip tooth, and they were round filed out, and it was wearing the bars pretty bad on the machines. And so we were square filing some, and we used that more or less the baby C type aspect on that 404 with a 5/32 to 3/16. But you got to stay in pretty clean wood with it, because the surface is small there. But that's like with square filed, the gullet is not as important, because the tooth stays so straight. It doesn't have to move to the side so far, and so the chip is able to clear out, ribbon coming out through it. And let's say a standard tooth, the depth gauge setting 25 thousandths, so you've got a 25 thousandths ribbon of chip coming out. And so with the baby C or square filed, the chip stays up right on the chisel angle underneath the top plate. It doesn't go down into the gullet area, so very, very efficient. So let's see, I used to work on the arbor crew at Clemson in the late 1990s. Wow, John, that's a nice area up there. We're up there, I guess, three times a year. It's been pretty consistent. So we do a demonstration there, and then the South Carolina T-squared or LTAP. We usually do Columbia area at the Clemson Sand Hill facilities, and then on down towards Monk's Corner, South Carolina. So usually 3 areas we're doing with the LTAP, the T-squared out of Clemson. every state has an LTAP program. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but if you're an employee with city, county, and some state, but mostly city and county is what it's designed for, and that's a local technical assistance program. It's a federally funded program from the Department of Transportation to train city and county workers anywhere from flagging to different types, traffic control, flagging, asphalt, machine operation, mower operation, and I do a lot of the chainsaw training with the different LTAP organizations. They're usually either organized by the DOTs in a state, like Georgia is a DOT here in Georgia. Kentucky is through Kentucky University of Kentucky. Clemson does South Carolina's. And then up in New England, you've got a DOT and more or less the Bay State Roads and those types of people. So every state has at least one, if not two, organizers for the LTAP programs. So it's pretty good for city and county employees. So, and that's what I was over in Augusta with this week, and but they didn't get it too well organized, and that's about the third time I've been over there working with them, and so it's about time they get the stuff together on it. So we'll see if we go back over there or not. All right, John, thanks for dropping by. I'm going to be signing off here in just a few minutes, but you have a great weekend, and hopefully it doesn't get too cold. But that's kind of it. I haven't heard anything else on the Hexa stuff. I have heard that it should start showing up in October, but that's, they've been saying that since March. But hopefully it'll start coming over with the saw shipments for fall area in order. And so that's kind of something to look forward to. But if y'all have any questions about anything, you can send to me or call on the chip line, which is 706-901-SAWS 7297. You can leave a message there, and we can try to get an answer up for you. But I'm working on a couple other videos. I've got 2 trees to come down for some firewood that died this year. And I got to get those down and let them be seasoning out. And so I hope to be working on that when I get back from Massachusetts the week after that. So I was waiting on a little bit cooler weather, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, anything else from anyone? I appreciate y'all dropping by, and hopefully we'll be able to connect. I'll be heading back to South Carolina next Thursday. We'll try to have it set up in the office, but we will work towards that. And then we'll be coming to you live from Chicago the next 2 weeks, and then Massachusetts the week after. So, but y'all stay safe out there, and keep your saws tuned up, and I wish you all good sawing. Take it easy. See you later.